All right.
We're matching.
Oh yeah. So good.
We don't plan this. This just happens naturally.
She always says we look like the Bobbsey twins.
This is 3 years of marriage right here.
You just end up looking like each other.
Okay, let's get to this.
Hey, welcome to another frequently asked question video. We're Chris and Sarah, and we get asked questions all the time, and so this video is particularly about this van behind us, and we live in this full time. So what's today's question about?
Today's question we're answering is about DIY vans like ours versus having somebody professionally convert them for you. We actually talked with our friends Yama Nomad based out of Calgary, Alberta. They professionally convert sprinter vans, and we reached out to them, and we actually stopped by their shop while we were passing through Calgary recently and had a walk around the shop, and they sort of showed us what they do. And so we're going to tell you guys our side of how we did our DIY van, sort of what that looked like for us, what our expectations were, what the reality is of it, and then we're going to go and stop by and talk to them. So yes. The first half of the video is going to be about DIY, like us, and then the second half is actually going to be talking to professional converters. So if you want to check that part out, check the time codes out below.
Just so we're clear, this is not a paid video by Yama by any means. We reached out to Yama because we truly believe that they're great people and they're a great business and they help a ton of people. We have a lot of people reach out to us asking if we'll build their van or if we know anybody that builds vans, and we always point them to Yama, and we'll explain why in just a little bit. Yeah. So it's the DIY versus professional conversion fight.
I know exactly how you're gonna do that. You're gonna make it really dramatic. Okay, moving on. Our expectations going into the whole DIY process. So like y'all, probably, you watched a lot of YouTube. You watched other people's van tours. You watched every single tutorial out there trying to figure out how long it would take to do your van. And if you're like us, or are like us, you think you can do it in a month. That is not impossible. It was for us. We thought it was gonna take a month. It took us just over 3 months.
Just over 3 months. And look, you watch videos all the time on YouTube.
They make it look a lot easier.
They make it look so easy. Like we watched one about installing windows and the guy did it in like 30 minutes. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome, 30 minutes per window. That is not the case, or it was not the case for us anyway, because we're not professionals. We had never done it before.
Yeah, we didn't have any experience, so this was all new to us. If you have experience, you will probably be very well prepared to do your own van. It's not impossible to do it if you have no experience, and we managed, and we have a really great quality van, or so we think. We're really proud of the quality and everything that we put into it. So, so that's just one thing to consider is the time. Go into it with realistic expectations. Don't say, I have to be on the road in 30 days, because chances are you probably aren't going to make that deadline no matter what deadline you set. It's always going to vary a little bit. So it took us 3 months, and a lot of why it took us 3 months was really not even so much on our end. It was more things like, you know, we hired out the spray foam insulation, we hired out the windows. Both of those alone, the window guy sat on our van for 2.5 weeks, and then the spray foam sat on it for 5 days. So we lost weeks just right there. Yeah. And then we're also waiting on things that were back ordered or coming from Europe, all this kind of thing. So
and so even when you are trying to be prepared, like you're like, oh, I'm ahead of the curve and I'm gonna order this, there's always something that pops up that you're having to wait for, no matter what it is.
And you can't always order things so far in advance either, because then it's too late to return it by the time you actually get to installing in the van. Yep. A lot of things to consider. So plan, but know that things aren't going to go as planned. So
we were building it out in Georgia, or Chattanooga area, and so it was during the summer. It's hot, it's humid, it's really long days. So we would wake up early in the morning, around 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, we pretty much did our day in 4-hour shifts. We'd work on real work on the van, work on real work for a couple more hours at night. So we were putting in full work days, and this was going on 7 days a week, and it was exhausting.
Neither Sarah or I had really the skills or the know-how. I wouldn't say skills, but like our
knowledge was YouTube.
Yes, our knowledge was YouTube. Her dad has a license.
He's a builder.
A constructor.
He's got his builder's license.
Yeah, and so, but we do not. And so we actually picked up a lot of skills because of this. Like, I'm a master at the jigsaw now. I like to put that on my resume.
I love how there's already crickets outside.
I know.
So like Chris said, and we've mentioned it before, my dad does have his building license, and so thank you, Craig. We need to insert a picture of him here.
Yeah, we should.
But thank you, Dad, once again. He did provide a lot of brains behind it. Really, my dad was like the best sounding board ever. Instead of always having to Google something, we would say, hey, Dad, come out here and look at this. And he would sometimes give us ideas that that's probably not the best way to do it. It'd be much more stable if you did it this way. I'm not the most efficient builder. I think harder, not smarter. And so my dad definitely streamlined that for us, if that makes sense. But we didn't have much experience. He did help us a lot and really just sort of like guided. But even then, he builds houses. He doesn't build vans.
Yes, everything in a van is totally different.
Nothing straight.
Yeah,
lines.
because nothing's straight, and you're building into this like metal box.
So where we were building it in Chattanooga, at the time there wasn't really anybody else that we knew of who were building vans. We've since seen a couple of people who were building out vans in the area online. So good luck, guys. But we didn't know anybody, and so it was completely isolating, I guess is a good way. I mean, thankfully we had the internet to bounce ideas off of other people or get inspiration, talk to other people who've been through it. But as far as like stopping by a Sprinter van shop, which we would have loved to have been able to do just to see something in person, it wasn't an option for us.
No, and even then, I mean, Sarah's right, it was very isolating. And then if we had a question or a problem and we would go online to ask these questions, a lot of times we'd still have to wait hours or maybe even days before somebody would reply that, you know, and so that's just another part of the building process, is waiting for responses, especially if you don't have anybody around you for input.
My parents have a small farm, and there wasn't a lot in Chattanooga by way of like resources. So our nearest Home Depot was 20 minutes each way. And so our every day looked like going to Home Depot at least once, and every trip would be like an hour of our time we'd lose just driving to and from. So that was inconvenient. And then we also had to make several trips down to Atlanta for various things like IKEA and a couple other things that either weren't stocked in Chattanooga, or if we had ordered them online, it would have been too expensive to ship, or were back ordered. So I mean, things like that you have to consider about location as far as where you're building your van. Because know what's around you and plan for it.
Yeah, because you will be at Home Depot every day for probably 2 or 3 times a day. Like,
we probably spent more time at Home Depot than we did actually working on our van.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna talk pros, and then we're gonna talk cons about building out the van yourself. So number 1 pro, you guys probably already know this.
Cost.
You're gonna save a lot more money if you build out the van yourself. That was definitely a selling point for us.
But there is a trade-off. You exchange money with time. So if you have a lot of money but very little time, maybe the professional conversion is the way to go. But maybe you don't have a lot of money but you do have a lot of time, DIY is probably the way to go.
Yeah, and that's sort of where we were. We were definitely in a place where, you know, we had saved money, but we were also looking to always save money, more money, and to do it ourselves. Like, we had able bodies, we had a place to do it, so that was just the best option for us. You can make small changes along the way. I can't tell you how many times we were in the middle of building something and we'd look at it and we'd say, hey, let's maybe change this or make this 6 inches longer or deeper or whatever. And because we were there constantly monitoring it, we were able to make those small adjustments and get exactly what we wanted.
Another pro is that if something does go wrong on the road or later down on the future, you know where to go and how to fix it, or know at least where the problem is and work back, and trace it back that way. Yeah. And so that's super helpful when you do a DIY. I do know that some professional people offer like guides and you know, different videos, but there is just something about like, this is something that you built, and so you kind of know where everything is.
I can still visualize all the wires behind the walls and stuff. Yeah. I know where things are at, and that's really comforting to know that if something goes wrong, I know how to get to that stuff. The last 2 points of self-conversioning a van maybe sound a little cheesier, but they're really true. You gain a whole new skill set, and you have the pride that you built this thing yourself. Yeah. And that might sound small, but it really is. Like, I think always adding skills is really valuable. And so we know how to confidently use power tools. I can walk in Home Depot, and trust me, the Home Depot men are not the I don't look like I know what I'm doing at Home Depot, but I really do. And that's really empowering, actually. So you just sort of feel confident in going in and knowing what you're going to do. And who knows where that's going to pop up, whether it's like a real house one day versus a van. I mean, these are just like good skills to have. Yeah, it's good skills to have. And when you're able to pull up into a parking lot or a campsite and you have somebody stare inside the van and they're like, where'd you get that at? And you're like, well, we made it. It's like, a one of a kind.
It's a one of a kind. And so there's just this sense of pride, you know, that comes with that. And so
it's a good conversation conversation starter too.
Yeah, except when you meet like a contractor, like a real contractor.
And you're nervous. We've had engineers walk through our van and they said we did a good job, but I'm always so scared that they're gonna walk in and be like, this is not sound.
Yeah.
But so far so good. As far as cons with a DIY van build, a couple of things to consider would be knowledge and experience. We didn't have a lot of knowledge and experience going into it, like we mentioned, but a professional would.
Another con for DIY conversions is, again, the time. It will take you a ton of time, and with professional people, they already have the know-how on how to build the van. They already have the contacts to the different vendors or different people that supply them, and so they're not having to research like Sarah was having to research. And so there's a ton of time that goes into building your van, and it's actually a con in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a con for the DIYer. So pretty
Yes.
much anything we're talking about here that's a con for DIY is going to be a pro for professional conversion. So just swap it. It works both ways. So something else to consider if you are planning on DIYing, sort of a con would be like the insurance side of it. When we were first trying to get insured, having our van completely converted, a lot of places didn't want to insure us as an RV because it was not professionally converted. Even though my dad has a builder's license, he doesn't convert vans, he doesn't have a business for that. So we knew that going into it, and we are covered insurance wise. I don't like going into a lot of details on this. Like, we feel very confident. We've talked to our insurance companies. We have more information in our legalities video up here, but bottom line is we keep it vague because it's going to be different for everybody. And we just want to make that abundantly clear. Like, we've talked to other people as far as how they're insured, and it really does look different from person to person. And I think a couple things to know though is if you are going to go the DIY route and you're going to get insured, which you need to be doing, take lots of pictures, have lots of proof, list the materials, list everything you have in the van, because the more information you can provide your insurance company, the better they're going to be able to cover you. So say you're going to go to State Farm or Geico or somebody else and you say, hey, I have this RV van that I want to have covered. They're not going to want, most likely, I've heard of some cases where they'll cover self-conversions, but they're not usually going to want to cover you unless you can say, I had it professionally done by somebody who does this all the time. They have a business license, you know, yada yada, whatever they need. Just for liability's sake, if they see somebody like us roll up and it doesn't look good, if we're asking for crazy things to be covered and we've got a propane tank strapped to it, we've got random batteries and wires, and it doesn't look legit, they're not going to want to cover you. It's a lot easier to get insured if you go to a professional company versus self-conversion. Some companies will just shut you down immediately. So stuff to consider before you either go DIY or professional. Some options to weigh are time versus money.
What's more valuable to you, time or money?
Which do you have more of? Yeah,
so if you have a lot of money but not a lot of time, go the pro route. If you have a lot of time but not a lot of money, maybe you should do the DIY thing.
That's where we landed.
So another thing to consider is you probably should go rent a van or an RV, or actually go ahead and jump in there and see what you really do like.
Or don't like, or need, or don't need. So we're really glad that we lucked out and we landed on a van that really worked well for us. If we had thought ahead about renting a van to try out, if we really wanted the 144, the 170, 170 Extended, ProMaster Transit, whatever we wanted, I wish we had tried those out. We didn't think about it, but that is an option. So we encourage you guys, go rent vans, RVs, trailers. You may find out that you need a lot more space than what you think. It is a very small area, or you may say, I don't need a shower, I don't really need an oven, I want to get a 144. And try them out.
And I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but that is one of the reasons we love Yama too, is because they do rent their vans. So if you rent a van for a week and you're like, I hate this, then you know, it's like a great idea. Like, don't jump all in, because we know people who have bought RVs or bought, vans, and they absolutely hate it.
But they're financially invested and they have to stick with it for at least a year, you know? So give it some time.
Yeah.
Something else we definitely want to mention is that you can DIY the whole van yourself, or you can do like we did and you can hire out certain parts of the van that you may not be comfortable completing yourself.
You don't lose cool points if you hire somebody to do something.
If you're unsure about it, definitely find a professional, because they can probably do a better job than what you may do.
Yeah, and
better
faster.
Than what we could do. Yeah, sometimes it's just about time and saving you time. So we hired out the spray foam insulation in our van. We had heard horror stories of people having it worked out and doing all that, so we just went ahead and just invested in that early on. Second one we did is we had somebody cut our windows out for us. We did the first window. It took us like 4 hours. It was awful. I don't know why we had such a problem with this, and we ended up being sort of unsure about it, and so we just dropped it off at a guy's body shop, and he did it for us. Definitely well worth the money for how long it was going to take
and
us.
Stress.
And stress. It wasn't on us.
There was so much stress. Beads of sweat, it was not good for...
This was the first thing we did on our van build too, so it was it was very stressful. We also had a local electrician come by and just run wires to our outlets and our lights, and really that didn't cost us much money. It was like half a day labor for him, but realistically he saved me hours worth of time because I can do it. It just would have taken me a long time. So sometimes it's really good just to like weigh your options, cost and time, and see what works best. Before we get to Yama, we do want to throw out there, we do consultations. If you guys do need it, have any basic van questions that you want answered, maybe you're just considering this and you want to run some ideas past us, we can help. We will not walk you through every step of the build.
But we do offer a blueprint with all our dimensions inside and some other tips. So if you are interested in that, be sure to hit the link down below and you can grab that.
So now it's time to talk about the professional van conversions. And we're going to introduce you guys to our friends Pat and Alex of Yama Nomad. You may have seen them on Instagram. They have beautiful vans and they do an amazing job. We get asked a lot if we would convert people's vans for them, and truth is, no, we're not going to convert vans. It's not something we ever have in our plans, as far as we know. This was a one-time deal for us. So we always send people to Yama because they use very similar components as we do. They do really high quality work. They've got such a great process in place, and they're really, really nice people. Of all the van people we've seen professionally, they have really solid communication. And this is something we've heard from other people who have reviewed other van conversion companies they've reached out to. They say, we're having a hard time getting in touch with these people. Who would you recommend? And we always say, go to Yama. They're really great. Yeah. They'll take care of you.
They will take care of you. And be sure to tell them that we sent you. That way they can hook a friend up. You being the friend. So, a friend of us.
So now we're going to pass it over to our interview with Pat and Alex of Yama Nomad up in Calgary. And we do want to apologize because the sound quality isn't great. We were actually at their shop in Calgary and there was a lot happening, people working on other cars and all sorts of things. So it sort of looks a little bit sterile boardroom-like, but we did what we could. It's good content, so make sure you stick with it.
It's great content, and they're great people. They've been so patient with us on releasing this video. And so thank you, Pat and Alex, for having us and being patient. And now let's get right into the questions. What's up, man?
Welcome to Yama.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Tell me what Yama is.
Like what it means?
Yeah, what's it mean?
It's a bit of a long story.
Okay.
So my grandmother's maiden name is Nishiyama, so it's Japanese. Nishiyama means West Mountain. And so she actually passed away a few years ago. And so we kind of wanted to have a bit of a hat tip to grandma. And so we actually named it Yama, which is just mountain. So for us, Yama Nomad is mountain nomad, which is kind of the best way to travel, which is by van.
Convert a van and then go traveling for a year, and we kind of decided that we looked into the opportunity a little bit more and figured, like, you know, we went down this path and saw that we're actually pretty good at this. Saw the opportunity to purchase more than one van, convert them, start renting it out, maybe cover some of our costs, and it ended up sort of expanding into this whole rental and conversion. The conversion thing kind of happened naturally. Like, we didn't intend to convert for other people. Initially, we were just going to have it be a rental business, but people just started inquiring, and it's been sort of a natural progression.
We try to find like a fine line between really utilitarian vehicles, which you see a lot of in the US especially, and it's blowing up in the US, and kind of like your favorite Airbnb, right? Yeah. So you want to kind of be right in the middle where you can have all that functionality, especially being 4x4, but feel like you're at home. We tend to do a design consultation call first, so finding out what they want, what their design kind of is, their flavor is, and then from there we actually go back to our designer and do 3D renderings. So we have this nice like architectural renderings done, kind of present that to them, see what they think, make some changes, so they get a feel of the space, and then from there we take a deposit and get to production, which usually takes, I would say, about 12 to 14 weeks, depending on the build, but yeah.
I think it's really important when you're working with somebody else, because there's so much like communication that can get lost between you, right? Like you have this idea in your head when you're talking about it, they have an idea in their head. So we find that 3D rendering super important so that the customer, the client knows. They're like, okay, I know what this is gonna look like. And we often go back and forth a couple of times with those renderings just to get it the way they like it.
Yeah, and to be honest, like as much as I could jump on this and say like you have to hire a company, we don't actually believe in that. So for some people, it's a better fit to do it yourselves. So we've actually had a service where we can actually consult with them too. So if they want to call us for questions and pay us for consulting time over their build period, like we can do that as well. So that fits your design, your style, your budget better, then we're all for it. If we can give you a couple supplies and parts that we can get you better prices on, great. If we can just help you with stuff too, that's fine too. But we kind of want to serve that whole market. So if we can sort of help those guys out, all the way up to someone who doesn't have any time to do it themselves and wants it done right. So as much as we'd like to be available for service and for fixes or whatever it is, we'd love to, but it's not always economical to bring it up here and have to service it. So we can do stuff on the phone for sure. That's limiting. So we want to leave them with the same knowledge, essentially, practically, that we would have. So a good example is like on the rental side, we actually have a week minimum for our periods. So we want to have like enough time to really thoroughly walk through the van before you let them off for a trip. Same concept for the builds too, is like be very thorough with the walkthrough so they really understand what they have. And even providing them with electrical diagrams so you like know exactly where everything is, how long the wiring is, everything you really need. Look what you're saying about DIY and saving money. I think the way that I think of it at least is it's a trade-off. So either you're going to spend a lot of money and save a ton of time, or you're going to spend a lot of time on it and save a lot of money, or there's a balance too. So you have to kind of find what your sweet spot is. And absolutely, like if you want to do it yourself, respect that absolutely and go crazy, but just ask for help and like find the places where you're not comfortable and ask for help. Even if that's like a ton of research or a call to us or whatever it is, just make sure you try and do it right.
Hey, if you want to rent a van, or maybe you want Yama to build a van for you, make sure you go over to their website, yamanomad.com, and be sure to tell them that we sent you, and maybe they can help you out.
Thanks y'all for watching. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Drop us a comment if you have any other questions about building a van, life on the road, anything like that, and we will do our best to answer those.
And if you have any other questions, make sure you go to letsbe.us/questions, and there you can enter in the question, and maybe we will answer it. And that's Kramer.
He's eating leaves. Kramer, you
hang
don't
on,
need
stay
that.
right here. Stay right here. People have missed you, buddy.
Y'all want to say hi to Kramer? What's up, bud?
If you don't hit the subscribe button, a puppy may cry.
No, don't say that. Kramer will get an extra bone if you hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, we're begging now. That's exactly
That's
what
tacky. We're not doing this.
We're begging.
No, we're not doing this. All right.
See you later.